retrospect, it would have been better for me to have held the leash for a little longer and actually walk through the first few steps together. So you live and you learn. You can bring a horse to water. You can't make it drink, but make sure you actually bring the horse to water. Don't just point it out in the distance.
Wouldn't it be?
All right, Diaries of a Mortal Entrepreneur. Day 1 is in the books. Can't say it was an all-star showing, but we got through and we're still in the game. We can make some adjustments and hopefully improve, because I would say today was probably a 5 out of 10, and a lot of the plan didn't go as anticipated, but that's why planning is essential and plans are worthless. It's morning day after. I'm going to keep this short so I can get back to the grind of trying to get ready. But Diaries of a Mortal Entrepreneur, Day 1. Thanks for following along. And what I'm going to do is give you a quick recap, my lesson of the day, or otherwise known as Arvin Learns Things That Everyone Already Knew, and then give you my highlight of the day. Then I'm going to end with, people have been asking, like, why do you care so much about storytelling? Why do you think this is so important? And so I got a couple of clips from other people talking about stories that I'm going to just throw in at the end. So let's start with the recaps. So I started with welcoming the kids, doing a little presentation, the idea of why stories are important. And I would say that went reasonably well. Some of the stuff didn't quite resonate exactly as I intended, particularly, I think, going through the experiment of why stories persuade people was probably a miss. But overall, the presentation went reasonably well. Then we went into my plan for like the icebreaker warm-up game for the kids to get to know each other. And that I did not anticipate how difficult charades would be for some of the kids being around a new group. So you had the couple extroverts that were leading the way, but a lot of people, it was tough for them to get out of their shell. Yeah, so that probably would change up that icebreaker to try to meet kids where they are when they're in a new group. We went through rules, some other basics around how we'd use the space, and then we went into our first project. And their first project definitely made a lot of execution mistakes. If I could go back and reset up the project, I would. And I'll talk more about that in the lesson of the day. But it's going okay. They're still in the project. It's taking a little bit longer than anticipated. But they're working on it, and they are engaging. And the good news is a lot of them seem quite interested. And there's some shy ones, but overall, they're engaging. They're trying. So we'll see how it goes. That was day 1. Felt like it kind of flew by, actually. So, lesson of the day, or Arvin Learns Things That Everyone Already Knew. And mine would be, well, first of all, teaching ain't tutoring. I will tell you that. It is so much different when you have a group of kids where you have 2 siblings that are loud and rambunctious. You have a very shy kid trying to come out of her shell. You have these different people and really different energies and vibe, and it's really tough to set a culture quickly and figure out how you're going to move forward for everyone. But the bigger lesson, I would say, was for the project. There's a saying, you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. But I realized you definitely can't just point out water in the distance to the horse. The least you can do is bring the horse to the water. It tried to do a step-by-step guide, but it just was not specific enough and did not give them the necessary structure for them to flourish. An important takeaway for me is really bringing the horse to water means really, really thinking through the student experience. If I could revamp this project, I would spend more time as a group working together and walking through the first couple steps instead of having them split up and work on their own so quickly. I had set it up so that they have this guy that they can access and work on their own. But in retrospect, it would have been better for me to have held the leash for a little longer and actually walk through the first few steps together. So you live and you learn. So you can bring a horse to water. You can't make it drink, but make sure you actually bring the horse to water. Don't just point it out in the distance. So the highlight of the day, I was walking around as the individuals were working on their stories, and one girl, asked her what she was doing, and she told me how she was trying to find a picture for her story that she wanted to include. It was a softball down the middle, and so I was like, hey, have you heard of these image generation tools with artificial intelligence? And she's like, what? And so I was like, there, you can literally just type in what you're looking for and it will actually create it. It's like, come over here. And I took her over, showed her one of the tools, and had her type in what she was looking to create. And she was like, wow, this is amazing. And then she ended up, churning out a bunch of pictures for her story. And it was perfect because she had a pain point, and the tool solved the pain point in an ideal way. So that was definitely a highlight where I felt like it clicked for someone in terms of what the possibilities of what these tools could do. Yeah, that's day one. And after the break, I have a clip from a podcast called Star Talk with Neil deGrasse Tyson, and I'll link the full podcast in the show notes. The guest was really, really insightful. This clip is just about the importance of storytelling for potential astrophysicists. Hope you enjoy. And I'll be back tomorrow with another update.
This is Omar Marcellino, and Omar says, hello, Dr. Tyson, hello, Chuck, and Dr. Shields. Omar here from Dallas, Texas. Dr. Shields, given your unique journey through the cosmos of astronomy and theater, two fields that are often mentioned never in the same sentence, let alone in the same career, you have boldly gone where few have gone before, and leading the way in ensuring others from diverse backgrounds can do the same through your work with your Rising Star Girls. In your perspective, how could this universe of diverse talent and experiences propel us further into the final frontier? How do you think incorporating a spectrum of perspectives in astronomy could accelerate our interstellar mission to understand and reach other worlds?
Whoa.
Now, wait a minute. Is your husband named Omar?
Is it about to be? No, I'm kidding. That was an excellently written question and recited. So yeah, I'm going to say, Omar, you want to read this book.
Look at that.
This has got the whole journey in there, pretty much everything.
I see what you did there.
Yeah,
and go to risingstargirls.org, because you'll see we're not just teaching these girls astronomy and astrobiology. We're not just saying, hey, there's stars out there, there's galaxies, these are the names of it. They get to write a poem about what they're learning. They get to design their own exoplanet and make choices about how many stars it orbits, and if there's life there, and if there's not, why not? They get to write their own constellation myths. They get to calculate the distance from themselves, from the Earth to different solar system bodies and units of themselves. So we're doing this all to develop a personal connection between these girls and the universe, of which they're an integral part. So we're processing what they learn through a creative arts-based lens. And I wanted to bring it back to Rising Star Girls because that's really, my journey has been epitomized by this program of like, they're not the arts and the sciences are not as disparate as many people might think. Mm-hmm. In both cases, it's about the story, right? Everything has a story. Planets, stars, they all live, right? And they die. And there's a story of their becoming, and there's a story of their evolution, and there's a story of their deaths, right? So there's that whole like science and the arts. And in fact, not only are they not as disparate as we might think, but they actually interweaving them is the key in my mind to answering your question, is to creating imaginative thinkers and enlightened scientists and enlightened artists for that matter, realizing that these disciplines can fuel each other, can be used to elevate our core understanding of the human experience and the universal experience. So that would be my best way to answer that really exciting question.